AI is advancing at a rapid rate, and it's going to affect just about everything that we're doing in life. But we want to harness it to tackle some of the biggest problems and challenges that we face across the UK. Darren, you're working on so many projects using AI. Where do you see the biggest benefits?
I think the first use case for AI is obviously about replacing people. And that's the area that most people are worried about.
It's a real concern, that, isn't it? Like, is it going to take my job?
Yeah, totally. I think today on news, number one headline from Wall Street was 200,000 jobs are going. And I kind of think, well, good, it's Wall Street. But lots of people in social care and social impact spaces are worried about jobs and the impacts of their life. But actually, I think that the benefit of AI is freeing up people's time, right?
Yeah.
It's not about replacing people. It's about actually providing tools and technology that can actually augment what we do.
I think that's the thing, is it? Because you have to see AI as a tool. And when I speak to people about AI, I'm always saying, it's not to replace anything, it's to make your life easier. If you can use it in the right context, actually what it's doing is freeing up your talents and your expertise to use them in a much more beneficial way, rather than doing loads of donkey work, essentially. Let it do the work for you, and then you can use your knowledge to make the more creative decisions and advance things much further.
Yeah, totally. And I know, like, for me, I've worked in the healthcare space a lot in the past, right? And when we talk about AI, like, AI is not a new thing, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about Gen AI today, but actually AI has been kicking around for years. And maybe 10 years ago, we were looking at how do we use AI to look at images from cancer patients for early diagnosis and things like that. And actually, those things came a long way. And then, 2.5 years, everybody's knowledge of what AI could do changed, because Gen AI was the new thing, the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
And actually, then we can have a conversation with something, which was something that back in the day with the Turing test, was the question, right? Could we ever actually have a conversation that felt like I was chatting to a human?
Yeah.
And 2.5 years ago, we got there, right? We speak into AI like it's your mate, like it's your friend. We can train it to behave in certain ways. Yeah. And the cool thing about that is it's always there, right? So if I need help, I can go to an AI tool, I can get it.
Yeah. I think what I think is exciting about it is there's so many pockets where it can advance and it can make so much good in education, in healthcare, in community, in society as a whole. I mean, there's just so many industries where it can really be leveraged. And I think the fear that's around it is because we don't really know the scale. It's a monster, right? It could become something so huge. So I think the smartest thing to do is to be trying to harness the benefits as best we can and understand as much as we can. So that as this thing evolves, and it will, we're evolving with it. It becomes part of our day-to-day rather than us trying to adapt to something later on.
Yeah, and it needs to be that. So, like, one of the areas that we work on is how do you integrate AI into a pathway, into a workflow, into a process, right? So we can basically be working with that AI agent, and that could be an AI agent that's helping somebody that's looking to care for somebody, that's helping somebody to become more sustainable as a business, that's helping somebody to grow their business, But how do we then augment that with a team of real people? Because what you want is a handoff, right? Where you've got an AI agent in some way helping somebody, but then at the point where the AI agent hits a limit, which it always will do, getting that to a real world person that can help, that can support, that can take that person to the next stage that they need to go to. So that's the really interesting thing for me right now. OpenAI, Microsoft, different places are all talking about agencies. So how do we make agents that can do stuff rather than just chatting? They can actually take actions for you. But I think the important thing is how do they take actions which actually inform and support the people that can also help you.
Yeah. And I think it has to make logical sense. And I suppose the question you always have to be asking is, where does it add value? Where does it improve things? Because it's easy just to adopt AI to make it do anything, frankly. And I think this is the fear, because people think, well, this monster is evolving, but it's only beneficial in the sense if you're using it in a valuable way. And there's so many industries that can use it in a valuable way. And as you say, we should feed it into pathways and use it in that kind of context. But you could make everything smart and everything virtual if you wanted to. And, we're not suggesting that you do that, but we are suggesting it's this massive tool that has so much scale to make life so much easier. So it makes sense to try and feed that into your workflow to understand how it would affect your customers, your patients, whatever the the work that you're working in, and how you can use like its capabilities. And I think all businesses and all sectors really need to be considering this, don't they?
Yeah, and I think like that's happening. I was talking at the European Chatbot Convention back in January last year, so it's a year on. And back then there was a session about cross-industry, it's actually up in Scotland, looking at how AI is being used, Gen AI is being used in different sectors. And at that time, a year back, it was just chatbots, right? It's just like, I can go onto there, I can find out my flight details. I can go onto there, I can book a restaurant. And actually people weren't thinking about how you could harness that and take it to the next level.
Yeah.
But now, like a year on, I think people are starting to think that maybe more in the kind of more commercial places, like in terms of cryptocurrency, bots and all that kind of stuff. So there's loads of stuff going on there. Where I'd love to see more of an impact, though, is that social space. Yeah. You know, where we can actually make social impact. And if you think about the barrier to social impact, a lot of time it's about time and effort. In charities that we work with, they haven't got money, right? And they don't have spare capacity. So actually having AI agents that can actually help and embrace what they do and scale what they do, that's really cool. And I think that's hopefully for me, that's the growth area for 2025, actually using AI to scale social impact across different industries. Yeah.
And do you think, have you seen like specific examples, say for charities, for example, where you think AI could have like a massive impact to say reduce workload or to give them more capacity or even to increase like donations or things like that? Is there specific examples you've seen?
Yeah, so like, for a charity where they're providing maybe advice and guidance support to somebody, they'll be speaking to them maybe once and then maybe again in 6 months' time. Yeah. But they could actually, train an AI agent which could go back to that person of support and check in with every couple of weeks. So actually, how are you getting on? What struggles have you had? Have you got any challenges that you need more help with? And then that AI agent could get that person back to the charity if they do need more help. Or we can even use stuff like help using AI coaches to maybe signpost people in the community to charities that can support them. Yeah. So almost like a joining up effect between people and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you know what's interesting to me is, like people talk a lot about, say, chatbots and things like that. And to some extent, when chatbots first came about on like a website somewhere, everyone will know this story. You'll ask it, you'll go on an airline website and you'll ask it to change a ticket and it can't do it. And it goes around in a cycle and a cycle. And eventually you have to ring the airline or whatever. And what's cool or will be cool with AI is more industries can adopt this, is that they can make it do more stuff. And you've sort of alluded to that in what you were saying earlier on. But it's not just kind of answering a question, but it's actually facilitating something to happen. Yeah. So, which again reduces that kind of workload on the human, if you like, who doesn't need to pick up the phone or do this because there's something doing it for you, already do it for the customer.
I think like what you said there is like really important. So the question is the important bit. Yeah. So back in the day, like I can remember when I first started doing a little bit of coding on my Spectrum 64K, long time back.
Spectrum, bring them back.
Yeah, the old Specky. I was called Specky 4 Eyes as well.
Is this a trauma case?
Yeah. Okay. But like when you went onto that and you started to code, it was like basic and you're just trying to figure stuff out. And actually, if you go back to ChatGPT, even today, like you log into ChatGPT, it's kind of like that. You're there. What question do I type? Yeah. It's like back at the start. And I think in 10 years' time, we'll be looking back at that and thinking, that was mad that you had to figure the question out yourself. Yeah. Because like Einstein said, right, you don't win a Nobel Prize for the answer, you win a Nobel Prize for the question. Yeah. And that's the hard bit, right? And I think that the platforms that are going to bloom now are those that actually have done the hard work, they've figured out what the questions are, and actually they're just providing the answers to help grow your business, make you sustainable, help you in that kind of care space or scale charities who give the answers rather than the questions.
Do you know what's interesting about that? Is it all comes down to the same principles of business, which is fundamentally being close to your customer. So understanding what the pain points are, what they need, what makes their life easier, and how does your business or product, whatever it is you do, facilitate that? How does that make that happen? And if you're close to that and you understand that, then that's what you can train into AI, because you know that that's the thing that they're going to be looking for. That's what they need day to day. And then you can use its capabilities to help you give them that, give them the solution to that. So it's understanding, as you say, it is understanding the question and understanding what do you want it to do and what do you want the output of that to be. Rather than, I think at this stage, so many people are kind of, because it seems so new, and as you say, they don't even know what to write, like how to ask the question. What do I want to ask it? And I think you need to, rather than trying to just add AI into the kind of the block, you need to think about what are we trying to do as an organisation, and then how can I use that to aid us to do that, and kind of reverse it the other way around.
Yeah, totally. And like the bit there, like of us typing in what can I ask it to do, as people that are relatively techie, you know, we're kind of familiar with that, right? We can go into a laptop, we can open a ChatGPT browser, we can type it in. I think the interesting bit is that that's not necessarily something that everyone's comfortable with anyway,
that's right? Yeah.
So a lot of this is about accessibility. How do you make sure that my gran can get benefit from all that new technology that's coming out, you know, that my mum, you know, those different people that might not know how to log into ChatGPT or get those answers. And that's why, for me, actually, one of the first things we did with Microsoft about a year and a half ago was look, how do we make WhatsApp the interface that you can actually chat to? So a year and a half ago, we built, we were the first people in the UK actually to build an integration between WhatsApp, OpenAI's Vision AI, that allowed you to take pictures from around elderly person's property and then have OpenAI analyse those images from a fall safety and come up with some real recommendations and stuff that can help that person to stay in their own home.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, like, as part of the Christmas agenda from ChatGPT and OpenAI, they launched a WhatsApp OpenAI app.
Right.
So, you know, we were basically laying down the
You were the
foundations.
pioneers.
Yeah.
You were the leaders. Are they giving you commission for that?
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Maybe as part of the next round.
What do you think is going to happen? What do you think the biggest triggers are, or the biggest industries, I would say, who are going to immediately should be jumping on this or are benefiting from this? I mean, you've already got a portfolio of AI projects, haven't you? Where do you see you need to be planting these things?
So I think in the commercial world, there's definitely a lot of stuff coming through, which is mainly about how do you optimize your kind of customer engagement? And there's loads of places that I can see that are using that.
Yeah.
Places that are starting to layer AI into the product as well. So actually, technology products like Canva, they're doing quite a good job actually in layering both vision and chat AI.
There's loads going on in media and graphic and design and all that stuff.
Website builds, those website builds, just type what website you're in and those things just build websites for you.
Yeah.
That stuff's cool. Like I said, though, I think the really interesting area for us, because we're a social enterprise, it's all about that social impact. So where can we take all this stuff that's maybe happening in the commercial area, learn from it, but maybe lead the way? You know, so maybe get ahead of the game in terms of what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's going to be exciting in 2025, right? Where you've got that coming through and you've got new stuff like, so GPT-5, we'll see when it arrives, like what that's going to do. But like what we've seen in terms of the progression of models over the last 2 or 3 years has just been crazy. So like this year, we should be at least double the standard of quality in terms of what we get from 5 versus 4. Yeah.
I mean, I think you touched upon earlier on, but like definitely areas. I always think if you look at the news agenda, what's going on. So there's definitely issues going on in social care. That's a sector that's struggling massively. AI has got to have a role in there. How can we use that to improve and reduce the workload and give more capacity to the people that are working in that area? You know, so that's definitely one area. Education is definitely a huge area. One, for the choices that people are making, because the careers are changing and the future of what they're studying for is changing. But 2, the way that they're studying, even if you're going into university or college or whatever now, AI means that the way that you're going to learn is already changing graphically. So it's got a huge role in education, not just for the people providing education, but for the next generation of students going into education. So there's definitely a role in there, isn't there?
Yeah, and the genie is out the lantern, isn't it?
In schools. Of course it is.
You know, kids are leading the way. I know Frankie, my daughter, she's on, she basically had AI built into Snapchat. So she was, a year ago, just chatting to that, asking questions, getting responses and stuff like that. So the kids are ahead of the game, and the schools are probably behind the game. They're playing catch up.
And the universities are, certainly. So.
And I think that's, for them, a challenge in terms of, like, how do they both, like, manage and control the use of AI, but then also embrace it at the same time. That's the kind of pros and cons, right? There's great stuff, like we're talking about with AI, but there's obviously a lot of risk as well.
Yeah, and what do you think some of that is? Do you think it's warranted? Because there's a lot of unknowns, isn't there, about AI? And, because its capability can be so big, definitely it can do some horrible things if it's in the wrong hands. But I suppose this is really about partly regulation, which I'm not sure we'll ever really get any form of real regulation. But for the most part, it can only really achieve real good, I would say. It's only bad people that want to do bad things, right?
We'll see. I guess the AI might be listening right now to this podcast and taking it on board.
Have you got a red dot on your head? It's
going to come back to the future. I don't know. I mean, I hope we're not kind of moving into that.
I hope so.
Terminator, Back to the Future stuff, but I think all you can do, like, we're people, right? And we're the ones that are building the products.
Yeah.
We're the ones that are putting the limitations around AI.
Yeah.
And it is up to us, really.
Of course it is.
And like, when we build products, one of the key things, so we build some products in social care or products that help kids, right?
Yeah.
And if you've got a 13-year-old that's having a conversation with one of our AI models, getting advice, whether that's to do with schoolwork or to do with care and support, the onus is on us, right, to be making sure that that child is safe.
Yeah.
When they're using the AI technology. And that's why we put stuff in there. So we have like safeguarding models built into the products. We analyze messages for risks. We do stuff like that so we can intercept and then provide extra support. And I think, when we look at the future, people just need to start thinking that way, that actually it's my responsibility as an ICO for an organization, so as data controller for an organization, actually to control that AI, to make sure it's safe for my users.
Yeah.
And maybe to steer where it's going in the future.
And I think it's inevitable, and you're going to have to do it because, as you said earlier on, the genie's out the bottle. So this thing's here. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So we have to understand how to handle it, how to use it, get the best out of it, and make sure it gets the best achievements in the most safe and progressive and economically valuable, and all the rest of it in that sort of sense. So that it's out, it's already here. So we've just got to try and embrace it as best we can and use its powerful capability across industry.
Yeah, totally. I think that's kind of great place to kind of summarize this, right? We started chatting there, like, AI, what does it mean? For a lot of people, like I say, they're worried about work. They're worried that they're going to lose jobs. What could it mean? It could mean we actually augment and free people's time up so they can do the really important stuff. Yeah. Whether that means that in a council, you're not having to pick up the phone and answer the same question every day. Yeah. And you can actually go out and run a community centre service and a cup of tea instead, right? Yeah. Or for a nurse, right, you're not having to fill in forms. You're actually able to spend time with patients. Yeah. They're the kind of cool stuff that I really hope, like 5 years from now, people will be sat there and they'll just be like, why did we do those repetitive, dull tasks all the time when we could have just been like speaking to people and getting on with people? Yeah. And that's where hopefully we'll go to. Well, AI is here, people. Watch this space and let's see where it goes.